What is up, y'all? This is Austin Pegram here, the owner and host here of the Fitness to Fit You podcast. I am coming to you today with another episode. I have a client and friend here on the air with us today. Welcome, Miss Dani McQuarrie. Yeah, Dani, introduce yourself, please, if you don't mind.
Hello, I am Dani McQuarrie, and Austin, I think that is the first time that you actually got my last name correct.
Hell yeah, because I don't do it on purpose. I just forget that there's like a UA in there, and I always like to say McQuire. I don't. But at any rate, real fast, y'all. Before we dive in deep today, I want to just send a daily reminder for everyone to be good to themselves. Please treat yourself with love and care, and make sure that you prioritize your self-care. All right, be good to yourself. We have a women's wellness retreat coming up in April of next year. That is 2021, April 24th through the 25th. Myself and another client of mine, Miss Holly Cropper, will be hosting that event. Be looking out for more details in future podcasts and on our social media outlets, and obviously in the body of the podcast description here. Okay, now it's time for the good stuff. All right. So I have Dani on the air today, y'all, because she is well, I know a few vegans, if you will, but Dani is like the most like straightforward, like absolute vegan that I know. She sticks to her plan absolutely. The other one is actually in DC, a mutual friend, Lauren, that we have. Dani's better friends with her than I am, but she's honestly the only other like straight vegan that I know.
She's pescatarian now.
Oh, you see what I'm saying? People change it up, So you're the only straight vegan that I know at this point. And so one thing as a coach for me is to be able to navigate through the different realms of dieting and nutrition. And while that's pretty easy to do in the way of macronutrients, in the way of calories to take in, et cetera, depending on what you are consuming. Again, this refers back to the type of diet you may be following. Following a macronutrient plan or following, X amount of, your calories and having those actually pertain to your goals as well. That can be a little bit tougher to navigate through as a coach. And so even tougher as a client as well. So I wanted to bring Dani on because she's been doing this for a while. I'll, of course, let her give you all of her information on it. And that way she can shed some light on, the rest of you out there who may be dipping their toes into some veganism, if that's an actual word. I kind of made that up, but yeah, Dani, let's let me hear it from the boss, from the superstar, sorry, go ahead.
Well, first, let me just talk about like how I got started in it. So originally, and just to preface this, I found that this worked for me. And I'm not going to say that this is end all be all. This is kind of just like my story and how it's worked for me and why I love it. But, really for anybody out there listening, you find what's good for you in your body and what makes you feel good. And it's going to be different. We are all built differently. So people are going to find maybe this works for them, maybe it doesn't. And, that is what it is. But so I got started in it. I actually was I was like 5 or 6 months pregnant, and I was watching a documentary called What the Health. And I was like, what? And I was like, and of course, when you watch documentaries, they can tend to be biased. They can have some one-sided information, so you really have to take that information and go diving deeper and, depending on how committed you are to it, and figure out what's true, what's not. But for me, I watched that documentary. I started watching more documentaries based around veganism or plant-based diet living.
Yeah.
And I kind of dove a little deeper into that, doing more research, finding, and then so I just decided one day while I was 6 months pregnant, I was like, I'm going to make the switch. And I did check with uh my primary care physician. I've checked with them, with my OBGYN, if
Mm-hmm.
that was something that would be okay. And they were like, yes, we'll just continue to monitor yourself. If you feel like, you're finding changes that are not good for your body, let's, try to work, meat and stuff back in. So they were on board. They said, there are people that come in here that are, go through their pregnancy as vegans, as vegetarians, pescatarians, whatever. There are certain things that you obviously want to stay away from. Keep staying away from those things. So, and they were like, honestly, veganism is fine. So we continued to monitor my vitals and everything. And when I started going vegan, I had hit my cap. I should say, I'm 4'11". So I had hit my cap of weight that I should technically gain during a pregnancy. They want somebody who is 4'11" or shorter to gain roughly about 15 to 20 pounds. And I had gained roughly about that. When I started going vegan, I started realizing I was losing a lot of that weight. The baby
Mm-hmm.
was still growing, and they were like, your vitals are great. The baby is still going. Your blood work looks great. Your blood pressure looks great. Your cholesterol looks great. Like, you're healthy. They're like, with a vegan diet, it is very typical that you are going to drop weight. We're not concerned with anything. So, by the time I was about ready to deliver, I weighed the same amount. And I literally looked like I had swallowed a basketball under my shirt. It was like, it was all baby. But I was the same weight when I went in for delivery as I was before I found out I was pregnant, which
Oh.
was crazy to me. Yeah, it was weird. Like, when I delivered, I had lost weight. it was
Huh.
it was crazy. So for me, I was like, wow, I like the effects that this does on my body. I had tried before. I had done paleo. I had done strict, like, fitness model dieting. I had done all kinds of like healthy eating, and a lot of it worked good when I stuck to it. But I would veer here and there and whatnot. But being a vegan was a lot better for me and my body, and the way that my body processed food, and the way that, so I'm vegan very, very strictly because of the fact that what it does for my body, how
Yeah.
I feel energy wise, how I feel when I eat, how I feel even if I have like cheat meals, and I decide to go like more strictly plant based, and I get back on track with my healthier vegan side. It processes a lot of that like crappy vegan food better for me.
Okay.
My digestion is much better. It's an all around good thing for me and my body and what it has done. So that's why I've stuck to it, is like what happened. Even like I breastfed and I was fully vegan. And that
They've
was
been, they've been getting almond milk since before they were born.
um
No,
yes,
no, I mean, yeah, that was a joke.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they have been getting almond milk since, and this was for my second one. When I gave birth to my first one, um it was totally different. Like and honestly, I will have to say, when I carry, I've had only two, but in both pregnancies I've been very healthy. My vitals have always been pretty good. I've but the effects that happen, and I don't know if it's because of the vegan diet, but the only thing different for my second one was the fact that I was vegan the last half of my pregnancy, and I had no swelling in my feet, and I would work long shifts. I would work 12 to 13-hour shifts. I would work doubles. And I still had the energy to complete an entire shift carrying a full baby. I
Yeah.
worked all the way up until the day that I delivered, which I did with my first one.
Dang.
I had more energy. Yeah, I mean, I had great energy. I didn't feel sluggish or tired. Um, you know, I had really good pregnancies both time. And the second one, being vegan, was even better.
Okay, so let's take a step back. Let's talk about a couple of things.
Okay.
I want to actually really dive into the specific changes you had to make when you made that switch in your second pregnancy at 6 months. But before diving into that, they don't know that you have. They know now that you have two children, but they don't know much about them. So your first pregnancy was with Leighton, who is she's now 6, right?
Yeah, she's 6 years old.
Okay,
She's
cool.
very excited about that.
Yeah, and then your the second pregnancy, the one that kind of also opened the door for this entire lifestyle change, was Tatum, and she just turned 3, right?
Yes, she just turned 3. So for 3.5 years, I have been vegan now.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So before we talk about those specific changes in your Tatum pregnancy, I want to go back to your Leighton pregnancy. So tell me about that, because at that point you were still eating regular, more classic, traditional diet, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So did you see the weight changes that you had in the second pregnancy, the vitals, the energy? Did you experience all of that in the first one also? What was that like?
Now, in my first pregnancy, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. It was a really good pregnancy as well. My
Okay.
first pregnancy, I feel like, I don't know how or why, but I have been blessed with the gift of having really good pregnancies.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't mean that I don't have things that happen. It's just my pregnancies go very smoothly. My deliveries also went very smoothly. Um, and honestly, I thank my lucky stars. I am very, very thankful. I know I appreciate the fact that that has happened to me.
Uh-huh.
And I was blessed with that. But so with Leighton, I still had pretty good vitals. Um, I did gain a lot more weight with Leighton than I did with Tatum.
How much more?
Um, I it well, I mean, with Tatum's, I ended up losing everything that I had gained. So, I mean, there's a pretty vast difference.
Okay.
I ended
You,
up losing
yeah,
a lot of weight. I ended up losing a lot of weight after Leighton was born, but
I got
like,
what
yeah.
you mean. Okay.
But yeah, it's way different. I would probably say it was an easy 20-25 pounds difference.
Oh, okay. All right. So then, so with that pregnancy, everything was great, no issues.
Yeah, but
Yes.
like towards the end of my pregnancy, the last like several weeks, I mean, I was working late nights, working long shifts, just like I did with my second one. And like I would notice I would have some swelling in my feet. I would notice I was like very tired. I would have a lot of like exhaustion. So that was a little difficult, but I still, I mean, when it came to my job, I love my job. I love what I do. So I would just, push through. Um, and it was never something that I pushed through past limits. Like, obviously, if I had limits, I would have, abided by them to be safe. I would never do anything to put my child in harm's way. But I just had, a lot of motivation. And so I went through delivery with Leighton. Delivery was very smooth, very quick, happened very fast. um,
What you mean
and
fast? What you mean fast?
like she was delivered in an hour and a half.
That's fast.
Yeah, they said for a first time mom, like my doctors were not even ready. They were just like holding, they were just like in position, but they're like, we're just gonna see what happens. And they're like, oh, okay, hold on, hold on. I was like, there's no holding on at this point. We're going.
That's funny. Did you? Because Becca actually. So we went into the hospital. It had to be around like 11 o'clock. We had already been experiencing some contractions and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I want to say Oh shit. I want to say like by morning she had her baby, and that was, I mean, that had to be like 6 or 7 maybe. I have to look in. I can't remember. At any rate, I think they were saying to themselves, they were saying to us that it happened fast because it was her being the first mom and she did it natural. She was all natural. So I'm like, man, they said that happened pretty fast, considering the pushing and the pain and all that stuff. So, and when I was there, it seemed like it took a lifetime. Like I was like, so
it's different when it's not you.
yeah. So an hour and a half, I'm like, God damn, that's fast as hell. I don't know how to.
Yeah, I watched the clock.
Yeah,
I was just watching the clock.
you were freaking ready. Well, okay, okay. So, but your labor. Sorry, we're digressing a little bit. To the actual birth part of it. So the labor. So you had your contractions. When, like, what was the entirety here of your day? So like, when did your like real contraction?
It was funny because I was woken up by one of my employees was messaging me on my day off at like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh,
yeah, well, this is the hospitality industry, and on their day off, they like to drink, and sometimes they like to ask questions while they're in the midst of their drinking, not realizing that I'm about to deliver any minute.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm having a conversation with an employee, and all of a sudden I go into the bathroom and my water breaks as I'm going to the bathroom, and I was like, "Oh, that felt weird." And it looked weird when I looked at it in the toilet. I was like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure I know what this is." So then I was like, so I'm just like standing there for a few minutes, like, okay, what should I do now? So I walk over to my husband at the time, and I wake him up and I'm like, hey, I think my water just broke. And he asked me, are you having any contractions? I was like, no. He's like, can I finish sleeping? And like, because his alarm is about to go off in like the next hour or so, 30 minutes or something like that. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to go take a shower. So I start taking a shower and I get out of the shower and I notice that I'm just like continuously leaking, which they don't tell you this, but you just continuously leak after your water breaks. And so then after I get out of the shower, I start feeling contractions and I was like, ooh, okay. So I tell him, and he's already gotten up at this point. He's gotten ready. He's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the hospital or can I go to work and set up? And then we can go to the hospital. I was like, you know what? It doesn't feel like I'm in pain right now. I feel okay. Like, let's just go. You can set up for the day and then we'll go to the hospital and get checked out.
Okay.
And he's like, okay. On the way to his work, I start feeling contractions. Like they're coming 20 minutes apart, and I started feeling, I was like, oh. So he gets in there, he sets up for his staff. Mind you, he works in restaurants. We're both hospitality people. So he sets up for his staff so that they don't have to worry about it and so that they're not rushing when they get there. So he sets up for them. And then I am like in the middle of a really painful contraction. And I'm talking to his boss, who is also a really good friend of ours. And I just lean over this chair and I just like let out this heavy moan. And he's like, he looks over at my husband at the time, Colin, and he goes, Colin, you better get her out here and get her to the hospital before she has this baby. And I'm laughing. Like I laughed through the whole pregnancy. I don't know why. I guess I laughed through pain. I don't know. And he goes, oh, I'm just waiting on coffee now. And I'm laughing because like we're dying laughing at this point. I was like, oh man, I'm probably going to have this pain from laughing so hard. I'm going to have this baby from laughing so hard. And so we finally go to the hospital. And they get us in there and like, it's just so funny. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm just going to do it. So, they go to like put me in the stirrups to check me to see if I'm actually like in the middle of having a baby. Although I know I am, like I know my body. And they put me in these strips and I go, oh, hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I go to the bathroom and I like and I kind of like shit on the way there. And they're like, yeah, that's a good indication that you're about to have a baby. And I was like, you don't say.
It was
So,
all, was it probably like, what was it, like 1 or 2 drops on the floor or something like that?
there was like one on my leg, and I like literally held my leg up and I was like looking at the doctor like, can you wipe that off? Like, I can't bend over and reach my leg at this point. Like there's no, like we're past the point of me being able to like reach my own feet. So I'm like, I was lucky that it was summertime because all I could put on was sandals. And but yeah, so I was just like, wow, this is great. I was like, I'm so embarrassed. And they're like, no, it's fine, we're used to it, it happens all the time. And I go, does it?
It does
it? So you know, we finally get in there. They do administer an epidural, which so I had a little bit of time. And then finally I get up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I'm looking at my nurse who's young, but she was amazing. Like this young girl was so amazing. And I was just like, I like I loved her. And she was my nurse, but she helped me. She was there for me when I was like pushing the baby and like, you know, and it was it was all fast. It happened very fast. And it was just like, okay, now she's here. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? So I did get an epidural and then I had a little bit of time. And then it was like, once I got up, it was an hour and a half and she was here.
Wow. Okay. Man, damn, I'm always curious about like the process, the stories, you know, because just having experienced one myself, there's always something crazy to happen in
oh yeah.
story.
Yeah. It's never just this like blissful, calm experience. It is like the most beautiful amount of chaos you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
So,
It's never what they say it is. Like in the movie, like, you know, in the movies, they, you know, you get to everybody's freaking the fuck out when you get to the, like, when you're trying to, okay, we'll get everything together. Okay. You're putting everything, she's in the car, like, hurry the fuck up. And all this other stuff. And then you get there and they lay you on your back. And then you're like, he, that, all that shit doesn't, you know, that's not how it all happens. So,
right.
Although
I will say when I was in delivery, like when I was in like I was pushing and like my husband at the time, he was like making jokes and I was laughing. Like there were times when I was laughing and they were like, oh, your breathing has gone down. And I was like, well, I can't breathe because I'm laughing. And I can't talk because I'm laughing. And I'm like, I have like tears coming down my face because he's making jokes and I'm laughing at them. And I'm like,
yeah, that's a good way to make. I'd say that's a good way though to make that experience even more of a positive one than it would have been. You know, just laughing through it all. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, nice. All right, so now back to veganism. Now that we have the story of life that we have, that's very great. I love hearing those stories. So on your second on your Tatum pregnancy, 6 months in, you are about to make the decision. All right, I'm gonna change my food, my diet. All right, you go home. What do you do? What's the first thing? Because I would imagine whether you're pregnant or not, people don't know the change that needs to happen. What's demanded of you to make such a, because it is a very serious or rather it's a harder change than people would think, to go completely away from animal-based protein, dairy, all of the above. So, you know, even vegetarians, they don't even get away from it. You know what I mean? So, you know, and so I'm just curious. So, you know, everything from your mindset, everything from your refrigerator, what it looked like, everything from your pocketbook, what kind of money did you have to spend? What were your finance? You know, all of that, you know?
So it's funny. So when I decided to go vegan, I didn't even really
Sorry.
like talk about it with my husband at the time.
Uh,
Um, he is a chef, so he is like, veganism is not his jam, which I was totally okay with. It was more of a health thing for me than it was an animal rights thing.
yeah.
Um, and so I was not going to restrict him or my daughter, Layton, from eating meat. I just didn't want to eat meat and dairy, and I didn't want to eat those foods anymore. I wasn't going to restrict them. I will let Layton make her own decision. Like she knows now that I don't eat that stuff, and she knows like what I can and cannot have. Um, but I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for me, and I'm going to try it out, see if it's something that I like. If I don't like, whatever, I can always go back.
Okay.
Well, so I kind of just like sprung it on him one time. We were out to eat at dinner, and he goes, we were about to share an appetizer or something. He's like, "Well, do you want to do this?" And I was like, "No, I'm not eating that anymore." And he was like, "What?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try being vegan." And he's like, "Okay." Um, he's like, "I hope you don't think I'm gonna be vegan." I was like, "No, I know." I was like, "I know there's no way that it would ever happen." So I was like, which I will say that it does have some minuses when you're the only person in your family that is vegan.
Right.
And we'll talk about that later. But so when it came to like when I dove in and researched information, I researched, things that you should do before you go vegan. I researched, you know what I mean? And a lot of it is like setting myself up for success. Like I would go into my cabinets and I'm like, oh my God, like, and I would read labels. I would read labels and I would read ingredients. And honestly, he got on board with that. He got on board. There was one time he was at the grocery store and he had asked somebody, he's like, hey, my wife is vegan. I need a little bit of help. And so he got things that were vegan and they were like, this is really good, this is stuff that they can't have, you need to check these labels for this, there's this symbol if it is vegan.
Where did he go for that? Because you ain't getting that kind of hospitality at Kroger.
Yeah, you do.
It was at Kroger?
No, I think he may have gone to like a Whole Foods this time.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking probably somewhere a little bit more like that. Because
However, at Kroger, they do have vegan foods. They have a vegan vegetarian section.
well, yeah, I in terms of the products, yeah, but I've never walked into a Kroger and felt like I could go up to one of the staff members and be like, "Hey, I'm vegan. Can you help me find?" And then be like, "Sure, let me point you in the right direction." I've never seen that before.
I've had good and bad situations because there was one time I was looking for kimchi and the person had no idea what kimchi even was. And then there was another time I had asked somebody in Kroger I was looking for something and they're like, yeah, here it is. And da-da-da. Like you could tell they were well versed on their
Yeah,
aisles and stuff. And like I'm sure it's getting better. But I mean, as I've been going through this for 3.5 years now, it's gotten better. There's still some setbacks, you know what I mean? And navigating that is you gotta like know how to navigate. But so he was in a Whole Foods and he was asking questions, and of course they're super open to stuff like that, and they have like anything you could ever be looking for at a Whole Foods when you're vegan. But a lot of it was getting the right staples, getting the foods and the things that'll help you in your journey on being like vegan, things that you should always have in your pantry. I did that research, and there's a lot of that stuff I still keep in my pantry on hand. um, I even, there's a way to still be vegan but also have junk food. And so being vegan and being healthy, they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
yeah,
But it's just the same as if you are trying to eat healthier. You still, I mean, honestly, technically, and I say technically because they don't claim this, but Oreos are technically vegan.
yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that a lot. There was an episode. There was an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast that I was listening to, and he was on there talking about that Game Changers
Oh,
documentary.
yeah.
And they talked about they said they used that example specifically, and that was probably like the third time I had heard somebody say, I mean, technically Oreos are vegan. That's
So technically Game Changers is about being plant-based. Being a plant-based diet is different than being vegan. It's
right,
very similar,
right,
but Oreos don't cut it on a plant-based diet because they're
right,
not made from plants or plant sources.
exactly.
So
Well,
plant-based diet.
I've seen that cream grow out of the ground before. That white, yeah, and then the cocoa is the thing. Cocoa is the
Yeah.
thing. Nah, I'm
Yes.
bullshit. Go ahead.
Those Oreos are not made from plant-based sources. But and so it's when you're talking about healthy eating, you can't just say, well, I'm vegan, so I'm healthy. There are
Mm,
people out there that are vegan and they, just eat Impossible burgers 6 nights a week. That's not healthy.
right.
You know what I mean? It's a better option. But if I eat an Impossible burger, with the bun and, all the good dressings and stuff like that, even if it's all vegan, it's probably still my cheat meal.
Yeah.
But really just setting myself up. So I had to be mindful. I had to know how to read labels. I had to know what to look for. There are sometimes that things can look vegan, but they will not be labeled as vegan. Because there's like one ingredient that is not technically a vegan ingredient. What's really funny is like white sugar is not vegan because it is made with bone fragments of animals.
White sugar.
Yes.
I don't think even I don't. I mean, I think that's probably a lot of people don't know that shit.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of things that people don't know about veganism. There are things that if it's like a lot of vegans will stay away from, like even if Burger King, they have that Impossible Burger,
Yeah.
but if you don't specify to them, they cook it on a flat top where they cook all their other burgers.
Yeah.
So that's cross contamination. And so if you don't specify, I need it cooked separately, or I need it cooked on a clean flat top, or I need it microwaved, whatever, then you're kind of cross contaminating.
Yeah. It's just like Impossible Burger just wrapped in fucking fake cow meat.
I mean, honestly, like if you just order the Impossible Burger and you're like, you still have all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's very possible you still have like fragments and remnants from like the burgers that they put on there regularly.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
burgers, the chicken patty, whatever. So
So tell me, when you came home, you maybe, and this is just an example, let's say you had, I don't know, a couple DiGiorno pepperoni pizzas in your freezer. Let's say you had some fresh chicken thighs, or you had like some 90-10 regular organic ground beef. And maybe you had some regular milk in there, whole milk, and
well,
this example,
honestly,
what were the substitutions?
I stopped drinking regular milk like years ago. I just stopped drinking. I mean, I can't even remember when I stopped, but I know it was a long time ago. It was way before I was vegan.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff I had learned about before I went vegan, and there was a lot of stuff that I've just kind of trial and errored along the way. But so I was already drinking almond milk for a very long time. So I would get regular milk for my husband for when he would eat cereal and whatnot, or even my youngest, and I would drink almond milk, or cashew milk, or what else? Coconut milk even, and like I've always enjoyed those. So I had already been drinking those for a very long time. I am a person that when I grew up young, I grew up with a lot of brothers and sisters in a household that did not come from money. We were very poor. especially having like 5 brothers and sisters. So we did not waste anything. And I still live by that. I do not waste anything. So I would make better choices when I could, but sometimes it was like, okay, well, I'm going to finish this chicken because I don't want to waste it. But I was trying to be mindful. And so it was kind of a slow process because I was still trying to work through like whatever groceries I had. If it was something that my husband would eat, I would have just left it for him.
Yeah.
But I was not going to waste food and just throw it all out. That is probably a better option for some people. That's just not me. That's not how I live. I do not waste anything.
Yeah.
So if I
Okay.
go out to eat, I'm saving the chips and salsa from the basket coming home. But
Okay.
anyway, so um I worked through all of that, and then I started like being more mindful. I started talking to him and being like, these are some things that I need. I started buying like a lot of rice and grains and stuff like that in bulk, which really helped to always have those on hand. When you buy it in bulk at a lot of places, you can get it for much cheaper than you would if you were to buy the small packs. Um, and just knowing like how to build meals from that. Looking up recipes. I look up recipes all the time. I've done where I've made like fake cheese. I make like, I can make it from walnuts. So I can make like walnut cheese, which is actually really delicious.
Okay.
Just like finding substitutions whenever I needed it. But whenever I eat like plant based, whenever I eat healthier, I usually get raw food, as much raw food, and I just try to stick to good raw food that I can like cook at home, good vegetables, good fruits. I eat a lot of oatmeal,
Okay.
which is a great source of protein.
Okay. Okay. This is good. This is good. So for you finding supplements, or ways to supplement what you have been eating have, never been too much of an issue for you, it sounds like. Now there is the issue of your macronutrients though, right? Let's say your goal is to lean out, if you will, or to bulk or cut. Ideally you're gonna want to have you know more protein. Um, depending on your goal, it's going to be about meeting your lean mass or more in
Yeah,
protein consumption. So with that being said, it's not to say that you can't do these things on a vegan diet. You absolutely can, but you are most likely, also getting in a little bit more fat than you would desire, or a little bit more carbohydrates, absolutely you would desire, because you're relying on more protein from those more a healthier carbohydrate options, but they're still, your carb packed, carb dense, slow acting, carbs. So with oats, for
right,
example, definitely always going to be a 3-to-1 ratio with your carbs to protein. Your pasta, 3-to-1 ratio. They your black beans even. I think it's like 23 grams carbs per serving, and it's like maybe 7 to 9 grams of protein or something like
yeah,
that. So there's always that you have to keep in mind. And so then with that, now you're looking to alter, what your intake is, and so sometimes you can end up eating, less food to make up for the fact that you have to do less here and do more here. And I think that's where a
right,
lot of people I think that's where a lot of people will say to themselves, well, if you go to that diet, then I'm gonna end up getting smaller. And those are the people that are so fixated on trying to be these massive, silly people. But I think that's why there may be hesitation from people looking to put on more to do that, because there can be those restrictions, that manipulation that you have to do with the rest of your foods to make sure that you're still getting protein in without overconsumption of carbohydrates. However, for you, that doesn't seem to have been much of an issue. Whenever I see you, it's not like you have an excessive amount beat in terms of body composition, or or just like your performance either. So you've done a really good job at that. What are your tricks? What are you doing? I don't know.
So honestly, part of it is like roughly about 10 years ago, I decided to start taking better care of my body.
Mhm.
My grandmother, who I was close to and I loved, had passed away, and she did not take care of herself. She was the exact opposite. And I noticed in my family it was like a trend. Nobody took care of themselves. And I was like, I want to be different. I want to take care of my body from the inside out. So with that, I've always tried to be mindful, knowing how to read labels, knowing what's not good for me, like even just looking at sodium, carbohydrates, total carbs, fats, stuff like that, calories. I never calorie counted. I've never been good at that. I've never liked that. I like to look at my plate as a whole.
Cool.
So that's really where I've really just been more mindful about the things that I put into my body.
Mindfulness, love it.
Yes,
Keep going.
mindfulness, and it really does matter. And honestly, it's like you have to, and honestly, I would just go and eat and gorge myself, and like you know what I mean, and I would just eat and eat, and I would eat the worst things, and I would be like, God, why am I so tired? Why am I, you know what I mean? I wasn't eating the right things. I wasn't doing the right things. I definitely was not drinking the right amount of water. And now, I mean, there's not a person that knows me or sees me in person that doesn't know this guy too. Like,
Oh, it's a guy?
I mean, this gal, this lovely lady, Ruby is what we call her.
Okay.
Like, if you don't know my water bottle, you don't really know me. So, but like now I make sure that I drink, tons of water. I make sure that, I mean, yes, I still like love sweets. I still love, to have a cheat meal. I still love burgers. I still love barbecue. I still love, good food. I mean, that's a common misconception, is that we don't love flavor. We love flavor, but it's finding ways to put flavor in without adding too much salt, and finding ways to add flavor without, loading it up with dressing that's loaded in fat and carbohydrates and bad carbs. I mean, um, finding stuff that is going to be better for my body and what works for me. So I noticed that my body just works totally different. Even when I was working out and I was eating meat, I did get to a point where I felt super fit. And I also felt really restricted. Like I was on a fitness model diet. I would have like half a cup of veggies. I would have like, a little bit of rice, and I would have like chicken or salmon or like ground turkey that was 90/10. Like I was restricted. And
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight that way, and I looked very good. But
It's not sustainable.
it's not sustainable. And funny enough, I didn't think veganism would be, but it oddly enough has been super sustainable for me. And I
Yeah.
really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's like the way that I cook, like, you know, I will in the morning, every morning I have a half of a cup of oatmeal. I
Mhm.
put 2 tablespoons of
Is
powdered
that
peanut butter.
half a cup of uncooked oats, and then you cook those oats, or is it half a cup of the oats are
Well,
cooked?
actually, I'm sorry, it's a fourth cup. It's a fourth cup of oats that I
Okay.
mix with a little bit of
Okay.
uncooked oats. Yeah, that I mix with 2 tablespoons of powdered peanut butter, and I add water, and it's got a little bit of just like a smidge of agave for sweetness, and that's what I have. Or my morning mealtime shake will have flaxseed, hemp seed, protein powder, and peanut butter, and some non-dairy milk of some sort, and that will keep me full. Regular protein shakes don't keep me full, but if I add oats in there, it'll keep me full for
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
And that is a whole meal for me. And I've also got flax seeds and hemp seeds in there for nutrients as well.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Even some spirulina, which is a huge protein source.
Mhm.
Like a little bit of
What is it
spirulina
again?
every day is a huge protein source. Yes,
What
it is huge.
what is it?
Spirulina. It's a green fine powder. It is a huge protein source. And honestly, it is really good for my everyday being vegan, and for me every day to have. And sometimes I'll just mix it in my like breakfast. If I'm on the go, sometimes all I have time for is to just throw a bunch of stuff in a blender, blend it, and go. But if I don't put oats in there, then I won't be full and I'll be hungry in an hour.
Okay. So, you all, just to give you a little breakdown, this is what she's referring to. It's a green substance.
It is a green powder.
And you're
Yes,
you're saying that it's packed with
it is
okay.
packed with high amounts of protein.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I recommend, if you are going vegan, or if you are vegan and you do have a problem with getting your protein in, I recommend having a little bit of this spirulina. It doesn't taste like anything, but I recommend having a little bit of spirulina every day.
Okay. And I'm trying to find the serving facts on here as well, just to provide a little bit more information. Okay, good. Cool. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But it's being mindful with the way I eat. Sometimes, my plate in the morning, if I'm cooking myself breakfast, I may make like a mashup of stuff. So it might just be some tempeh that is cooked, and I chop it up to where it kind of looks like eggs. So it's like a tempeh scramble, and tempeh is really good for protein. Um, I will always I have an instant pot. So once a week I will typically make a big batch of some sort of grain, and that will be my grain that I add a little bit to my dishes every week.
Okay.
And usually it's like really good. So really good grain. So it's like couscous, barley, farro. Farro is fantastic. It could be brown rice. It could be quinoa. Those are all really good sources. Amaranth is a really good source of protein. These are all really good sources of protein. They do have some carbs in there as well.
When you say really good source, what do you mean? Because so far, what you're naming off, it's definitely carb dominant foods.
Yes, so, but they also have really good amounts of protein in there as well.
Okay, so good amounts meaning adequate.
Yes.
Okay. And I know what you're saying. I want to make sure they have all the information, because I would imagine there are some people out there kind of splitting their foods, whether it be like maybe throughout the day they only have one animal-based meal, or throughout the week they always do like a meatless Monday or something like that. So I want them to have all of the information possible. Okay, cool. All right. So even these carbohydrate dominant foods, you all will have some adequate amounts of protein in them. So if you are eating them by themselves, I would imagine, from what Dani is saying, by themselves, it's not like you're not gonna eat a bowl of brown rice and expect to get what you need from that, but mixing that with other necessary essentials, that's where you're going to be getting your complete proteins from, in the foods that you need. Okay, cool.
Right.
Okay,
go
ahead.
Food, I don't want to say I make loads of stuff, but I make sure that I have a good amount of veggies. And a lot of times I stick to making and eating more veggies or vegetable type of protein in my foods, and try to lower. I try to be as mindful as possible. So if I have like some sort of grain, I don't, put a ton of that grain in there at first. I put enough in there to make sure I'm getting my carbs. I just don't put too much in there to where it's just overloading.
Okay.
Because for me, my body also, I've noticed, processes carbs a lot differently now than when I used to eat meat.
Yeah. Okay. Good
So
point.
for me, I don't have to restrict myself so much, but I am mindful. Okay, I'm going to put these carbs on here. It's also going to add some protein, but I don't want to add too much, because I probably will not finish everything.
Yeah.
So, and I know how little and how much I need. And you really have to play with this yourself and
Right.
realize, okay, well, I can't eat rice and quinoa and all this other stuff like I used to because my body's different now. So your
Yeah.
body will change, but you have to figure out how it changes for you.
Right.
For me, I can eat a little less grain and still get really full. I eat lots of vegetables and, I saute, I roast them, I cook them. Sometimes I'll boil them. Just kind of depends. I'll add, a little bit of sea salt and pepper, and it's like, that's my quick and easy. You know,
Okay.
Sometimes I need that quick and easy. And honestly, I will sit and roast a whole pan of veggies, and my children will devour all of them. They do
Yeah.
not last in my house.
That's funny. And when you said just when you said sea salt and pepper, I thought that was funny because I was watching this for the longest time. I noticed that Becca only used like salt and pepper to like season her foods, and
Yeah.
so hold on, baby. Let me finish telling the question. So let me finish telling it. So I was yeah. So then like I I was watching this episode of Wild and Out one day, and one of the guys Wild and Out was talking about there was a white girl on there who was making fun of him, and he popped up and he goes, "Salt and pepper ain't seasoning, bitch," and the whole crowd start like busting out laughing. And I thought about that. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want to see her really put salt and pepper on everything. And they're making fun of white folk or whatever. And so now
Yeah.
here you say that, like, maybe that's the thing, like you only use salt and pepper for
Jesus.
anyway. It's obviously a stereotype, they do a bunch of stuff over there on that show.
Oh yeah.
They talk about how white people only they always put like little raisins in the potato salad and stuff like that. They make these.
I've heard that. I've heard that. It's funny
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I
yeah.
hear
But
that.
but but then on the other hand, you'll have the white people on there that are talking about some of the cultural changes or differences with black folk. There's always banana pudding on Thanksgiving and all this other shit, like just funny shit like that. So, but
Oh
anyway, yeah. So
yeah.
when you said that triggered me a little bit. Um, um,
But
Go ahead.
sometimes less can be more. Like, I if I get a whole bundle of asparagus and I boil it and like I add a little bit of rice and a sweet potato,
Uh-huh.
like that is probably my lunch.
Okay.
I've got a lot of nutrients from asparagus. I have a lot of nutrients from brown rice and a lot of nutrients from sweet potato, and I'm full for a pretty long period of time, which is what I need.
Yeah.
Um,
So I
so
think there's something to say about that because that really is a plate of carbohydrates, and so there's a good there's a good mixture that you have of fibrous carbohydrates and your slow complex, which obviously can have an impact on how you digest the foods
mhm.
and things of that nature. But I do think that if an individual, and you said this earlier, which I thought was very interesting, I don't have enough information on the topic myself to be able to weigh in, but I do think that it's interesting that people eating large amounts or more than necessary amounts of meat, of animal protein, have issue processing carbohydrates on their plate. um, you know, they have more of an issue doing so than they would if over time their body kind of adapted to relying on those carbohydrates for their main fuel source. And so now they process those foods obviously in a more productive sense, if you will. It
Right.
says something about the combination of the two, so like I wonder what that's about. I'll have to do a little bit more research and maybe have you on again or something like that. But yeah, that's funny that you say that, because obviously just from knowing you and being able to see you, that you making that switch and that change, it's kind of changed the way your body processes those foods. And you can
Yeah.
have a full plate of these whole foods, these whole nutrient dense foods, whether they be carbohydrate dominant or not, and your body, you use them in the way that you want them to be used. You don't gain or anything like that. Like, everything stays where it needs to be, and so there's something to that. That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll have to dive in on that another segment.
Yeah, it is definitely different. When I used to eat healthy as a like, it took weeks for it to start. When I was eating meat, it took weeks for my healthy eating to reflect in my body. And now, and this is personally for me, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying like go be vegan tomorrow and in 4 days you will get the dream body you want. What I'm saying though is my body, what it does whenever I start to eat well, eat better as a vegan, because I have my moments when sometimes I just want to, not eat as well. And when I get back on track, my body, it doesn't take long for my body to start reflecting that. And even being vegan, whether I eat mindfully or whether I, just eat to eat to live, or I'm sorry, when I just live to eat, when I'm eating more on that track, like, in engaging in things that are not necessarily super healthy for me, I can tend to gain a little bit, and it's not as bad, but my digestion is still great. My energy is still pretty good. But when I'm mindfully eating, it reflects in my body a lot quicker than when I used to eat meat, whether I was eating healthy to unhealthy.
Okay. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Very good, you all. So, and something, a good takeaway from this portion of the conversation is that, Dani said it a couple of times. This does not, this is not a ploy to get you to go and be vegan, right? And honestly, that probably is not for everybody.
It's not.
There's a lot of people out there that they probably need, and I guess need is not necessarily but it's more convenient for them to have animal-based foods because they're going to be getting some of the vitamins that you can get from those animal-based foods. Hopefully they're getting their animal proteins from humane sources. Those meats are always going to be better for you, of course. But, it may not be, optimal for them to be vegan. It may not be optimal for the performance athlete, every performance athlete that is, unless you have somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, who's prepping your meals for you. You know what I'm saying? It may not be optimal for that individual. But obviously for some people, it can promote some very, very cool and long-lasting changing benefits. Okay, so kudos to you for being able to make that change at the time that you did, and seeing so many cool and positive responses from it. Okay, very cool. All right, y'all. So I want to end off here, of course, with our regular closing statements, but I also want to quiz Dani a little bit here. Okay. So you didn't know about this, Dani. But I'm going to throw a few questions your way. It's going to make you think on your feet. And as long as my questions are good, I'll get you a little bit flustered here. Okay. All right. All right. So here we go. Ready? Favorite childhood snack? 3, 2, 1.
Cereal.
Cereal. Okay, that's everybody's childhood snack. Be specific. That doesn't count. Be specific.
Frosted Flakes.
Frosted. Hey, okay. Frosted Flakes. Nice. All right. I love it.
We were poor.
Okay. Frosted. Nowadays, a box of Frosted Flakes running about $5. So, hey.
I know, right? We buy bag cereal.
Man, especially if you get the family size. Lord have mercy. Okay. Moving on. Next question. Favorite exercise. 3, 2, 1, go.
Bridges or squats?
Bridges or squats.
For the booty.
Why you like the booty? Okay.
I like butt stuff.
All right. Okay.
Deadlifts too, because I like that I can lift heavy. I lift very heavy on deadlifts.
Okay. What you mean very heavy? Let's talk about that.
Well, we have talked about that.
I trained you, so I know what you lift. So when you say
I know. What I lift now is totally different, but the heaviest that I've lifted in deadlifts was like 235, 240. But that was like a 3-rep deadlift.
Okay, that's good. How much you weigh? How much did you weigh then?
How much did I weigh then?
Yeah, do you know? Like
then I weighed about 135. Now I stick between 120, 125.
What were you eating when you were hitting that 235 deadlift?
I was vegan then.
Were you vegan then?
Yeah, okay, this was after Tatum was born.
Okay, so veganism it even can assist with your performance too, y'all. Okay, when we got to get you back up to that 235. Hey, we got to get you back up there. Okay, we got to get you back up there. I like that. Especially if you're trying to see that butt stuff gain right there. We got to get you back.
Like butt gains.
All right,
food gain.
All right, daughter's Leighton's favorite drink. Ready? 3, 2, go.
Tampico.
What is it?
Tampico.
What is Tampico?
Look it up.
What you mean look it up? You said it's your daughter's favorite drink and you gave me the answer. What is Tampico?
It's just like a fruit juice type of thing.
Oh, okay, cool beans. Yeah. Okay. All right. Tatum's favorite food. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Anything I eat.
Man, you ain't playing this game very well. The goal is to get you to go down to one thing. Okay, the goal is to get you to go to one thing, though. That's what makes it tough.
All right, grapes.
Okay. Maybe my questions just aren't very good. I think that's mainly what it is.
You're not really quizzing me hard. I thought this was going to be hard. I was like flustered at the beginning. Now I'm like coasting.
Well, I'm not making you think hard enough. That's the problem. Okay.
Something deep.
What city were you born in? 3, 2, 1.
St. Charles.
St. Charles. Very good. Okay, where is that? I don't know where that is.
In Missouri. It's like just outside of St. Louis.
Okay, cool beans. How long did you live there?
God, I grew up there. So I moved away from like the St. Louis area and when I was like 20, 21, maybe.
Okay. Cool beans. Very cool. All right, Dani. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. On our way out the door, do you want the people to find you anywhere? Do you have a work that you want to drive them toward? Do you have a page that you want to drive them toward? Something that you promote or do that you want to drive them toward? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, I've got some things that I'm like working on. I would probably say the best way, if you want to find me, you can find me you can find me on Instagram at Lady Whiskey Thief. And that is a good way to find me. That's probably my more active page. I don't really hang out on Facebook too much. I mean, it's active, but it's not as active as my Instagram page. And my Instagram is going to be utilized more in the next few months.
Okay, awesome. All right, y'all. So there's Dani McQuarrie for you. You know where to find her now. And of course, as always, if you're looking for coaching specific to your goals, your body, your lifestyle, your everyday demands, you want to come and be a part of team fitness that fits you. Come join Dani as a part of that team, y'all, as a part of that community.
For a year now.
Follow me on Facebook at austin.pegram. That's my main page, or the community page, FTFY, Information Community. Okay. If you are looking for supplements, you are post-workout, pre-workout, intro workout, whatever it is you're looking for, creatine, you can go on down to SubHub. I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky. Shop local, y'all. Shop local. And that is on Westport Road here in Louisville, Kentucky. Go check that out. Tell them Austin Pegram with Fitness That Fits You sent you. You'll get up to 20% off on your supplementations. Okay, they got a large variety of supplements down there, so go and check that out. Don't forget about our women's wellness retreat, April 24th through the 25th. The link to register will be in the description as well, so go check that out, or you can obviously reach out to myself with regards to how to become or how to register for that event as well. Okay. As always, you all, be good to yourself. Thanks so much for listening. Dani, thanks so much for being on. And everyone, have a great rest of your day or night or whenever it is that you're listening to this. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.